than for white people, for instance. That's just genetics.
I don't think that's true. I like to go to Colombia to talk to girls. I'm like, really? Why is that? And it's like, Colombian girls all of them know how to dance a ton at clubs. I love the culture that they have around like hiking and like physical activities outdoors. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. I like a lot of like the history and the culture, and they're like all that shit. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's fine. But when somebody's like, I need somebody that's feminine, submissive, docile, and American women are too masculine and they bully me too much, I'm like, okay. Like, that's just like, if I heard that.
I'm saying you can also have the option if you wanted multiple wives as well.
Okay.
QB, you're kind of reinforcing all his stereotypes.
No, it's all good. It is
well, so
okay.
if she's an attractive girl,
she has options.
She has options, and some guy is saying, look, I will put the ring on it. Overseas, you don't have to worry about that because they know that they're replaceable. It's like, look, if you don't get with my program and do the things that I want you to do and live the lifestyle that I want to live, I can replace you. In the United States, most men do not have that leverage.
I feel like I was really close to, like, not really close, but I was making some headway. I'm like getting Destiny to drop the stereotype, and I feel like, all right, let's get into it. So, so this is a follow-up on the debate you had with Allende. I couldn't really get too many words in there since you guys were quite passionately going at it. But this is one issue I think you and I fundamentally will disagree on, which is interesting because there's not too much of that. So I want to clarify a statement you made and see if you're being hyperbolic or this is actually what you believe. You said that American women are the same as foreign women in terms of desirability. Do you actually
same? No. If I said that, I misspoke. They're obviously not the same. People from different countries are going to be different.
In terms of desirability, though, how desirable they are as a partner?
In terms of desirability, I mean, I guess it would depend on what you're desiring in a partner.
For most men, for the majority of men.
Well, no, I feel because didn't I make fun of people for looking for foreign women because of different things they consider desirable? Wasn't that kind of like the linchpin of my argument? So,
I thought the linchpin of your argument was just the power imbalance of guys who are going to third world countries because they lack the riz to meet girls in their own country. So they're doing it because they want to either control or manipulate a girl. It couldn't be like any kind of positive motive, simply because they like the culture of that country more, or they are looking for certain values.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
Wait, what? So is your response that yes, they are the same, or no, they're not the same?
No, I don't think they're the same. They must be different, right? I would say.
Okay. Which country do you think has the most desirable women, just from like your...
Well, I'm an American, so for me, I would say American women are the most desirable.
Have you traveled? Like, I know you've been to like Scandinavia. Have you been to like Latin America or like Asia or like those places?
Not really. I've been to Cancun. I've been to Venezuela. Or not Venezuela. I'm sorry.
That's right.
What's the place to the north of it? Aruba. But I haven't been. Not really. Not truly. No.
Okay, but you would agree with the statement that for a lot of guys, women in Latin America are more desirable, and not because that we can control them more because of things like supportiveness, family values, femininity, and whatnot?
No, I don't buy that.
Oh, okay. So what do you think is the actual... Wait, I'm just kind of confused what your argument is, because on one hand, you're saying that, no, American women are not as desirable as foreign women, but then when I follow up and I say, okay, but like, why are those guys going there? You're saying it must be a negative thing and a power thing. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, I guess I feel like when I hear a person say that they want to go to like Central America or South America or Asia or whatever to find a woman, I think generally what I'm hearing is a person that is it feels like a person that struck out a lot in the United States, or is looking for a woman that is like it has values that are way more conservative than I would consider, like, I guess, things that I would disagree with. I mean, you can do it, I guess, but it's just like, it's not where I see what I think that like I guess a high value person should be valuing like in a partner, I guess.
Okay, let's explore that. What do you think are things that a high value person should be valuing in a partner?
Somebody that can contribute evenly in a relationship with you. So like somebody that is on your level intellectually, successfully, somebody that shares like some similar cultural crossover as you, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was doing a little research before this debate just to see what like the studies on this say, and they surveyed tens of thousands of men, and they were looking for like what are the most desirable personality traits. Here's what they found. So intelligence was number 3, but number 2 was let me see, it was it was supportiveness and kindness. Kindness was number 1, supportiveness was number 2. So supportiveness is very, very important for a lot of men. Kindness is kind of like, no shit. I guess supportiveness is as well. So then you'd have to make the argument that women in America would be just as supportive on average. We're talking averages as women in a place like Colombia or like Czech Republic or whatever.
Yeah, I guess how do you define supporters? Because I feel like in general they should be.
Well, I get so here's another piece of data on this. So they did there wasn't really any good like one study that can explain this. You kind of have to like look at all the studies and try to piece things together. But there was a study they did where they looked at Mexican women versus Mexican American women, right? Like meaning like the ones who live in Mexico and the ones who are first generation. And they asked them what they thought their primary role in a family was. And the Mexican woman said it was being a mother, and the Mexican American woman said it was like, well, you know, it's I'm focusing on my career, my education, stuff like that, right? So you would think that if a woman thinks that her primary role is being a mother, that she's probably going to be more supportive in a family environment than a woman.
Well, that's one definition of supportive. When I think of like my wife is supportive, but we don't have any kids. So I mean, if you're going to define supportive as like willing to support a family, then sure. But I feel like that definition of supportive is probably going to vary. Like if you're saying like I want a wife that's supportive, I don't think that every man that says that it means I want a wife that wants to have a family and take care of kids. I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to have anything to do with kids. That's just one metric. But like you would think that a woman who thinks that her primary role is to like, you know, take care of the kids, which again, I'm not actually saying that's what women need to think. I'm just trying to look at it from like a high up perspective, why men do what they do, would be more supportive even when they're not having kids. Like for example, with a husband's career, or like for example, some projects that he's pursuing, versus a woman who's primarily focused on herself. She's probably going to be less supportive or whatever it is that her man wants to embark on.
Yeah, I don't agree that just because somebody's more willing to have a family, those people might be actually far less supportive, depending on what we're talking about. For instance, if the husband has to like move somewhere for work, a person that's more family oriented might be opposed to that because they want to live closer to their family to take care of children. So I don't think that necessarily comes over that a person that's more willing to like have kids and take care of a family is going to be more supportive in more areas of your life. I don't think so.
Let me try to approach it from a different metric. Maybe this will resonate more. Okay, so you would agree that reliability is very important, right, in a partner?
Yeah. Some of these words are like very broad at Amor. Like, what does reliability mean? Like,
do
they show up on time to a dinner date, or like, are they going to be there for you? Like, if you get fired, like reliability. That's a very broad word. I don't know.
Let's start off. You start dating, right? You're not asking them for the big things yet. They're just going to show up to the date. They're going to be on time. You know, if you ask them to maybe grab you something, they will. Like, they're a person you can count on.
Yeah, I would say in general, these are important traits of everybody. Yeah, for sure.
Well, of course, 100%. Right. So this is another point of contention with the passport bros. The flaking rate in America, like for example in Miami, right? And it varies what place you are in America. In Miami, flake rate is like 80-90%. And like middle America,
when we say flake rate, what are we referring here? People just like
breaking
up?
You set up plans with a girl and she doesn't show up.
80 to 90%? Are we just talking Tinder dates or?
In Miami, yeah, primarily talking online dating. But we can go outside of online dating and just go to like regular dating. It's not going to be as high, but it'll still be high. The point I'm making
we're at a fundamental disconnect of lived experiences. 80-90% for real life dating. That sounds fucking insane to me. I've never seen that anywhere in my entire life. But if you're saying after you set up a Tinder date or something, maybe. But
yeah, I'm saying 80-90% for Tinder dates. I'm saying once you go outside of that, the flake rate drops, but it's still kind of high. Maybe it drops down to 50% in Miami.
Okay.
So the point I'm making is when you go to Eastern Europe, flaking disappears. It's not a thing over there. If you make plans with a girl, doesn't matter if it's on Tinder, in real life, at a coffee shop, unless the girl legitimately gets into like some kind of emergency, like where she literally physically can't make it, she will show up. Now, I remember that was being part of the culture shock I had when I was traveling through Poland. It was like because typically in the US, I'll have to set up multiple dates with multiple girls so that, you know, one girl shows up. In Eastern Europe, like I couldn't do that because every girl would show up and then I would have to be like rushing between girls. That's not a thing there. It doesn't happen. So just that in and of itself would, I think, be a very strong indicator why dating would be better in a country where women aren't flaky.
I don't even know how to. Okay, let's start with number one. What is your proof of this? Do you want to read something with me or?
What is my what?
Are you like referencing like a study or something when you're talking about like flake right here?
No. With the flaking, I couldn't find a study on that. That's just my anecdotal experience and anecdotal experience.
Oh, sure. But for your anecdotal experience, you're an American traveling. You're a foreign national, like traveling to another country, like picking up women, right? So of course your experience over there is probably gonna be a lot different, no?
Yeah, but then when we look at, for example, I like run a mastermind group with hundreds of people. When I look at, like, for example, the Eastern Europeans who live in Eastern Europe, like the Polish guys who live in Poland, their experiences aren't that different than mine when it comes to women over there. Like when I'm coaching, for example, a guy who lives in Poland, right? And like I start I might start talking about flaking, like, yeah, in order to get the girl not to flake, he's like, wait, what? No, we don't do that here, right? Like they don't fucking have it over there. It's not a thing. It's very rare at the very least.
I don't know if I believe that, but I mean I don't know what else I could. That just sounds highly implausible to me. But I don't know. I can't.
Wait, you don't believe that women are less flaky in Eastern Europe than they are in the U.S.?
When it comes to like Tinder dating and stuff, I don't think so. No, I'm not sure.
Let's start off with just Tinder dating.
Yeah, I don't even know how much Tinder is used, like in Poland or whatever. I have no idea. Is that even an app they use over there?
Yeah. It's used in pretty much every like major country.
But I also don't know how much flaking is common in the United States. That seems like pretty rare, or pretty uncommon to me. Like if somebody told me they were getting flaked on like a lot of dates, I would say something is going off. But unless we're just talking Tinder. But even in Tinder, I don't know how common it is. When you say flake, are you talking about like somebody just ghosts you and stops responding? Or are you talking about like you set up a date, you show up at some place, and they just like don't show up and they don't say anything?
Yeah, we're talking about you set up. Yeah, what you're referring to is ghosting. We're talking about when you set up plans with a girl, right? 8 p.m. and then you either go to confirm, or it's like an hour before, and you're like, hey, I'm on my way, blah blah. The girl just disappears, or she says, hey, I can't make it. Insert random BS excuse, like, like I have a headache, or my friend invited me to a party, or Jay-Z is doing this, whatever.
And you think this happens what percentage of the time?
Like
outside of Tinder. Outside of Tinder.
Okay, outside of Tinder, in what city? In Miami?
Sure.
Because it's going to be very different in Miami than
we'll say average for America, I guess. Then.
Okay, well, when we do average in America, we're taking like in places like Albuquerque, New Mexico, like Midwest, it's like kind of reasonable versus in Miami or like LA, it's really high. So we're doing an average. I would say it'll probably be something like 55%.
Jesus. I don't know. I don't think I can engage. That 50. Did you say you said 55%?
Something like it's slightly more than 0.5%. But again, that's not the best data point because places like, for example, Cincinnati, it's going to be maybe like 30%, and Miami is going to be like 80%, and that's what's going to like kind of cause it to be 55%. But overall in the U.S., yeah, it's going to be either half or slightly more than half. Flaking is very common in the U.S.
Interesting.
Wait, have you never like experienced this? I mean, I know you're like,
yeah, I have a couple times. No, it's happened a couple times where like the girl's just like, oh, like I couldn't make like a couple times. I think it's pretty rare that I've like ironed out plans with somebody and they just like sometimes like I might get to a point in a conversation where you're trying to figure out like, hey, do you want to be blah blah, and then they like ghost you at that point. That's happened, but like actually like made plans and the person just doesn't show up. That seems pretty rare. I feel like. I'm just saying that's happened once or twice because I'm sure it has, but I can't recall off the top of my head that happening. That seems pretty rare to me. Or I would imagine it is. But this is like same thing with high school, same thing with college, before Tinder, and then even post Tinder. In Nebraska, I included my social so they could see my Instagram. In California, I didn't. I don't think I ever got flaked on in California though. But
let's talk about that. When you were living in California, like roughly how many Tinder dates did you go on?
I think I probably went on not many. I would say in the 3 years living there, I probably went on like 13 or 14, and I probably banged like 7 or 8 chicks that I met like exclusively on Tinder.
Okay, 13 or 14. And you said you were not, they had no idea that you were the Destiny, like you weren't linking your socials or anything? You weren't telling them before?
No, because at that stage of my life, I wanted to meet like fucking streamer girls because I was getting people driving me crazy. There were at least 1 or 2 that recognized me though because they made a comment or whatever, but usually they would make it pretty early on when we're chatting on Tinder. Nobody revealed afterwards like, oh, by the way, I know who you are. Like usually they would say something like, oh my god, are you Destiny or whatever. Like there was one girl who immediately recognized me and like we just hooked up that night because she knew who I was. So like, yeah, that's it, obviously. But for the most part, like most of them didn't. Like there was one girl that I would later become pretty close friends with who like, I remember we went out to dinner once and she started talking about how she was a huge fan of JonTron and she didn't know why he disappeared on the internet, and that was like really funny. But yeah.
What years was this? Like ballpark?
20. It would have been. I moved here a year and a half ago, and then before that, I lived in Glendale, Culver City, Huntington Beach for 3 years.
So we're talking like 2019, 2020.
Yeah, around then, yeah.
Okay. And so you're saying that out of the 14 Tinder dates you've had, like, so in order to get those 14 dates, you maybe set up like 15 dates and one girl flaked. You're telling me there wasn't like 15 other girls that flaked on you?
No shot. I think I would kill myself. That sounds horrible. No, by the time we've like actually set something up, no, that's I can't even think of that ever happening. I'm trying to think, and even in Nebraska or whatever, that seems wild. But it might be in Miami. Maybe it's like way different.
No, not really. I mean, I've lived in California. I've lived in Texas. I have clients all across the U.S. I would say that like my sample size is pretty decent. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. Maybe you're just like the luckiest motherfucker ever. But what you're describing is like, oh yeah, I can't imagine girls flaking half the time. That's the reality of like every guy. I don't care. Even
dude, I need to start doing the Tinder shit here in fucking Miami just so I can see it, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Hold on, I'm just curious. Pulling my audience. What do you think of flake rate? I am a virgin, or less than 10%, or 10 through 50%, or 50% plus. I'm just curious on my chat.
Dude, I would bet any amount of money that if we were to create a Tinder profile for you and we were not to reference the fact that you're destined just like a regular dude, that your flake rate here with girls that you actually make plans with will be well above 50%. I would bet every single dollar in my like fucking savings account on that.
Huh. So you chat for a bit, you get like a phone number, and then you go to make a date, and they just don't show up, or they make an excuse while you're like at the restaurant that like they can't come here or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're smart, you're not going to show up until the girl, like you're not going to leave your house until the girl says that she's on the way, right? Because you don't want to waste your time. But yeah, basically like that.
Interesting.
I mean, are you like having like very long phone calls with these girls before you meet up with them?
Fuck no. I mean, like, I'm probably chatting a bit. It depends on the type. Generally, like, I'm usually... my flake rate might be different because, like, I'm very, very, very open. Like, as soon as we start chatting, like, within, like, 3 messages, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm only looking for something casual, probably hook up, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, a lot of people will unmatch me after that or say, oh, I'm not interested in that. So the only people that are left from that point, I think, like, generally know what's up. Maybe that's a difference. Like...
No, I mean, I'm doing literally that same exact thing. That's basically what I teach. Yeah, you want to screen... I mean, would you be down to do an experiment? I have to like actually put like all our fucking life savings on it, but to create a Tinder profile for you and see what kind of flake rate you get. I'm like so fucking confident that it's going to be above 50%.
We should try that sometime.
Yeah, I feel like that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, what did your chat say in terms of their flake rate?
Can I see results of my polls after they've happened, or is it just going? No,
you can see them live as they're going on.
No, I meant in my chat room.
Oh.
But I did a poll, but okay. I think it was like, I think around 50% said it was less than 10%, and then like 40% said it was 10 to 50%, and then I think like 10% said it was over 50%.
Okay.
But I don't know.
But that adds up to like 70%. What would you say was the initial for the first? I
said about half the people said their flake rate was under 10%.
Oh, under
and then
10%.
The other about half said it was between 10 to 50%, and then there was like 10% that said it was over 50%. About.
Yeah, I don't believe that people. No offense to Destiny's chat, I don't believe that people were saying it's less than 10%, unless. Yeah, no, I cannot think of one variable that will make me believe it. Unless, of course, they're in other countries, in which case, if they're like in Eastern Europe, I can totally believe that. But yeah, that just like doesn't support the experience of like any one of my friends who are good with girls, of myself, of my clients, of anyone at all. Like, and it's not the end of the world if a girl flakes at you, right? If you're talking to enough girls, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I've never had anyone say in the U.S. that their flake rate is like less than 10%. That's just like unheard of.
Huh.
I think the only way we're going to find that out, I mean, I don't know, I can see if I can try to find a study on that. I think the only way we're going to get to the bottom of that is we do an experiment. But yeah, I mean, that's just like absurd.
If I delete my Tinder account and remake it, will it refresh all my matches or whatever? Or
if you delete all your, so basically your matches go away. So then like you're starting fresh.
Does it give me like a fresh MMR and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, maybe I'll remake it tonight. Fuck it.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting experiment. All right, well, anyway, we're kind of like at an impasse there. I guess like I don't know how I could convince you.
I think like if you, I mean like that's an important data point because if fucking half of girls were flaking me on dates in the U.S., I might say fuck this shit and go somewhere else. That's a huge number. I'd be like,
yeah,
fuck.
that's why I'm telling you. That's why a lot of guys travel internationally and date there. Like I just using myself as an example. Like I can get laid in the U.S. I have a girlfriend from the U.S. Right? Like I can meet girls in the U.S. But I prefer dating in other countries. It's more pleasant. Like when I'm in like Eastern Europe or Colombia, right? Like one.
Do you think it might matter that I'm like I filter out like on a lot of people that might be more prone to this? So for instance, like this is gonna sound really shallow. I don't mean it to sound whatever, but like if I see like a girl has like really big lip fillers, like I'm swiping left on all of that shit. Or if she looks like she is like a fucking Miami party girl, like I'm swiping left on all that shit. Like I don't even think I can put my hands on a person like that. So maybe I'm like filtering for a lot of the people that are of a certain like caliber or look for like a certain type of thing that these girls might be more likely to flake than like the random like kind of nerd tech or like average girls that I kind of like DM. Or
I think it could play a role, but it's not going to be that drastic of a thing. I'm like also kind of into like the alternative type of girls. So I typically, I mean, I do like the fucking big booty Miami Latinas, but I also like kind of like the alternative type of girls that you're describing. We're like more into like fucking, I don't know, all that shit. Let me actually do a poll in my chat and see how different the results are going to be. And answer this like brutally honestly, guys. Don't like.
I put a poll option for virgins too, so that if people had no experience, they didn't just like feel compelled to fucking answer and some shit.
What % of people said they were virgin?
What was it in my chat, guys?
Let's do
60, 50%. Yeah, that's my audience.
50%?
60 or 50%, I think. Yeah, about half.
Damn. Okay. 10 to 50%. Okay. I'm gonna do a poll in my thing. 10 to 50%. Let's do 50 to 80%. No, 50 to 100%. That'll be the last option. We'll get results of this in a few minutes. But yeah, like this is like, again, going back to what I was saying, like that's the reason, like, for example, I find dating in foreign countries more pleasant. It's like, one, the girl will show up, right? Two, there's typically less catfishing from what I noticed. So that's always nice when the girl looks like her photos. Three is that I find that girls are just typically more feminine and like just more like easygoing and fun.
What does feminine mean? What does that mean?
Think of like the opposite of masculine, right? Like a masculine guy. Think of a girl who's like very like just kind of girly. It's kind of a hard thing to describe. Like a girl who's very girly. She giggles a lot, and she's like she doesn't try to like I don't know like act tough. She just does things that are traditionally feminine. Like that would be like, for example, being supportive. I don't know. I mean, you know what feminine is.
Okay, I feel like there's a lot of these types of women in the U.S., but I don't know. Maybe.
No, they exist. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying.
Or it feels like there's a lot of them. It feels like it feels like in your mind, like the average U.S. woman is like a crazy rad femme that's like on Twitter posting about how much they hate Elon Musk.
Nah, man, that's like what Fresh and Fit thinks. That's not my thing at all. Like I know that there's a whole variety of girls in the U.S. I've dated great girls in the U.S. We're just talking simply about averages here. I don't think the average is like some crazy fucking rad femme girl. I think the average girl is the average girl. She has, a few things going on. She has a life, blah, blah, blah. She's getting bombarded with lots of options on Tinder, right? So she has the luxury of being able to reschedule, and a lot of guys or flake on them.
Well, to be fair, just on that, I don't even think the average girl is on Tinder, right?
I think the average girl has been on Tinder at some point. I don't know if she's actively on Tinder. Like if you ask most girls, they've been on Tinder at some point in their life, but it might not be on there anymore.
That might be possible. But like I said, like Tinder is like 5 to 1, like male to female. So I don't know if like the average girl is like on Tinder, right? Because the balance is like so far off.
Well, we can talk about like outside of Tinder. Like I meet girls in real life too. So if I'm like walking around like Miami, like for example, yeah, I've met great girls walking around Miami. I'm just more likely to meet a girl that I like walking around Eastern Europe or Colombia.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
Like going to like Scandinavia, for example, Finland, girls in Finland are very, very polite and friendly. Like even if the girl's not interested in you, she's going to be like ultra nice. Like she's going to be like, "Oh, thank you so much. It's such an honor that you approached me." But
what? I feel like that is completely the opposite. At least in Sweden, like I feel like people are kind of cold.
I've never been to Sweden. I can just only speak on Finland.
Oh. Okay. I feel like for Finland, Norway, and Sweden, for all of these, I feel like the people, like, I feel like it's almost like a joke how autistic I think those people are in terms of like being antisocial. But
I've literally never met more polite and friendly women than I have in Finland. Like the girls who are like perfect 10s, who you look at and you're like, oh, this chick is gonna be a bitch. We're like ultra friendly.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Where were you at in Finland? What'd you even go to Finland for?
I was just exploring. This was 2018. I was just checking out a bunch of Eastern countries.
You know that women in Scandinavia has to be a lot more aggressive because men in Scandinavia are not really going for women at all. You saw this happen at the roller coaster place.
Yeah, for the male to...
Yes, the women have to be very friendly and aggressive. That is true. We have to be. Because men are not doing it, so we have to do it ourselves.
Wait, Melina, can I ask you one more question if that's cool with Destiny?
She's gone because she's too retarded to ever actually get on the computer, so I don't know why.
I was gonna ask her what her opinion on her friends are in Scandinavia versus American, but yeah, like even like just going off like my girlfriend who's Colombian, like her, I don't know, like what like we talked about like my single friends and I'm like, yeah, can you hook them up? She's like, oh, he's not gonna like any of my American friends, but I have some Colombian friends that he would like, stuff like that. Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I feel like if you were like maybe if you traveled more to like Colombia and stuff like I'm not saying this is like a dig at you. I know you're a busy dude, but like I feel like if you maybe like spend some time living in Eastern Europe or Colombia, you might have like a totally different experience.
I don't think so because those are like the exact types of women that I like avoid as hard as I can. These are like the most boring people in the world to me. But I understand why somebody else might be drawn to it. But
wait, what do you think makes them boring?
Like the ultra feminine, quiet, giggly, bubbly girl is just like I'm into like the really bitchy, cunty, like more aggressive types of women. Like always, like if you look at like my yeah, of course.
You like the more cunty girls?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have a very aggressive, domineering personality. I don't want somebody that I feel like I can just steamroll in every conversation. It's really boring to me.
Okay, well you and I are just fundamentally different in that. I do not like cunty girls. I think probably most guys don't really like the cunty girls. But if we're like one of the things for you, for example, is education. Like women, I think on average are better educated in Eastern Europe than they are in the U.S.
I feel like there's no way that's true.
Let me check. Let me fact check myself. Well, I just know like when like I was in Poland for a month that like in the U.S. you talk to a girl like, yeah, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm just like hanging out, or oh, I'm just taking the summer off. In Europe, it's always like, oh, I'm pursuing my like postgraduate degree and like fucking in this, and I want to be blah 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 blah. But okay, let me actually see if this is true. Let me try to find some study. Education level, Europe versus America. Also, like college is like basically free over there, so it kind of stands to reason.
Yeah, but I feel like in the Western world, especially America, I feel like we have some of the most like educated populations. When you look at like Paris, when you look at like France, Germany, the UK, the United States, like compared to like Eastern Europe, I feel like our amount of educated people is like just really high.
Okay, I'm pulling this up now. Secondary education, 7.4. Rank 56. This is like spending per. Okay, like on a lot of like, it doesn't actually tell you who studies more. It just tells you like where there's better funding. Let me see if I can find different.
It's like
studies.
I guess look at like percentage degrees or percentage of degrees.
Yeah, okay.
In
That's
Europe versus whatever, I guess.
Bachelor's. Let's do bachelor's education level. Europe versus America. So bachelor in Europe can typically complete the very specific subject 3 years. Okay, wait, that doesn't do anything. Okay, here's an interesting one. U.S. versus Europe in higher education. Now, in very short time, here's the difference between the importance of tendency to teach another major, because when compared to European institution, we lose hands down. According to the College Board, the average yearly tuition cost of private. Okay, wait, is this talking about the cost though, or the level?
Also, it wouldn't surprise me if the average European was more educated than the average American because of their access to education. But for Eastern Europe, I would be surprised if that was the case.
Okay, let me pose the question like this. Where is their higher secondary education? Europe versus America? Since high schools we don't have the answers, okay. Yeah, in chat, can someone find this, please?
What was the results of your poll or whatever? I'm just curious for your flake rate stuff.
Yeah, sure. Let me take a look. It was under 10%, 28%, 10 to 50%, 43%, 50 to 100%, 43%. So most guys are well above 10%. I don't know. I'll for some reason I can't find like a good study on this, but I would be pretty confident that there's more higher educated people in Europe than in America.
In Europe, I think that's probably true, yeah, because their education is fucking free. We get fucked on ours.
So you're just saying it's Eastern Europe that you disagree with?
I think so, right? Because aren't Eastern European countries generally lagging behind Western European countries when it comes to like kinds of industrialization or things like related to like educational attainment and everything?
I don't know. Comparing university life, Poland versus say culture, hockey to. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think I found something good. Poland versus United States compared. Okay, average years of schooling. Poland is ranked 10th. United States is ranked 12th. Children out of college, university, gender parity. Okay, this is basically even. What's your government spending? Literacy total. Okay, wait, no, 99.8. Okay, so Poland is slightly more literate than America. Better people. Secondary education year is 6. Okay, and yeah, and Poland has more, like on average, when you do an aggregate of the years people spend in secondary education, Poland wins slightly. They're ranked 87th. United States is ranked 102nd, but it's pretty close. So the Poland is at least as good when it comes to education as America, if not better.
Damn. Okay, America just sucks. Never mind. Are we really like last in all of these guys?
Oh man, America sucks by a lot of fucking objective metrics. We're number one when it comes to military spending, but in terms of like a lot of like things like.
Oh no, wait, am I reading this wrong? I'm sorry, I might have been reading this backwards. Hold on, I'm sorry. No, I'm not reading this backwards. No, wait, Canada is dead last. Am I reading this backwards?
No, that can't be.
Oh, hold on, I am reading this backwards. I'm sorry, my bad. I thought this was rank on the list. This is percentage that have attained college. Okay, hold on. The U.S. is like 8th on this list then. Control F, Poland is like fucking down at the bottom. Not at the bottom, I shouldn't say the bottom, but they're like ranked like 30 on here. I'm just looking at... Right,
which list? Is this guy saying, playing with fire, percentage of female working age population with advanced education, Poland was reported 78.73. Can you tell me, Mr. Avocado Cookie, what it is for America?
I linked you on Wikipedia, like list of like tertiary education by country or whatever. I don't know if that helps or not, but
Americans should definitely do learning work.
But anyway, the standards they use, like it might even be different what they consider like post-secondary or post-education too. So I don't know, it might be hard to compare.
Yeah, that's true. But, yeah, that's true. I guess the initial, I feel like we're kind of getting a little offside, but the initial point I was trying to make is like, if your big thing for you is education, you're just as likely to find an educated woman in Europe as you are in the U.S., if not more so potentially.
I guess it's going to depend on the area that you're going, right? Because I'm also like, I'm not really looking like in the U.S., right? I'm looking like in San Francisco and LA. Well, I'm really looking online, but like it's going to be a little bit more like, because I'm sure there are huge swaths of like the dating market that I will never want access to. Like I'm not going to, no offense, but like I'm not going to like Alabama or like Louisiana, like looking for a partner or anything too, right? But that's going to be similar of Europe as well. That like we're not going to like the rural parts of fucking Poland, of Western Poland, to find somebody to do this, right? Yeah.
Right, you're going to be in, this is a funny comment, Hustlers University equals post-secondary education law. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you're going to stay in the major cities, and the same thing for US if you're basically the average person. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like, I think that like no amount of like secondary anecdotal experience will convince you. So I think the only way for you to well,
a lot of it is like personal opinion too. Like if you want to travel somewhere else to go find somebody, I guess you can do it. I don't think I ever would like specifically go to, especially like poorer countries, to look for like a significant other. I don't think that would be a thing I would ever be interested in. But it's also something that like is fundamentally like inaccessible to most men too, right? Like traveling to another country to look for a wife is probably going to be like pretty expensive for most people.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But you also have to keep in mind, you're like a special candidate. You're married. You are famous, right? Like, so you're not the average person, right? You're not the average person traveling to other countries to look for women, right? It's typically not famous married men. It's like single dudes who are like lower status and whatnot.
Sure.
So I can see how you wouldn't do it. Yeah, for you, it wouldn't be worth the bother because you could just meet chicks like in the U.S. But I guess here would be another question I would have for you. It kind of felt like during that debate, I don't know if this is still your position, you're almost like kind of like shaming the men that would go to like these third world countries because of the power imbalance. But when you say that like when you meet women through Instagram and whatnot, because you're famous, there's also power imbalance, right? Like, isn't there going to be a power imbalance either way?
It's not so much the power imbalance. It's more like the desperation to flee a country through means of like a green card, I think is a little bit different. Like, I don't think that like, even for other countries, like you're not going to find people in Germany who are desperate to be with you because they want to escape to the United States. I feel like for hunting Eastern European women and like South American or Central American women, like that dynamic is a bit more at play.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you have the powers in your favor either way, right? There's not that many.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Like a 10-year age gap doesn't tell me about a power imbalance because it could be a 10-year-old and a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old and a 40-year-old, right? Like there are power gaps to every type of relationship. That's always going to be the case, right?
Sure.
But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there could be, but then there could be exception. Like you could be, for example, going to Poland and you're talking to like the fucking coolest, most educated, most like fucking desirable woman in Poland, right? So there could be exceptions for every rule.
Yeah, but I'm saying in general,
like,
in general, it feels like people don't like Western American women because they feel like they're too masculine. They don't like the fact that they're so educated. They don't like the fact that they work jobs. They just want somebody to like have a baby. That's what it feels like in general. When people talk about like being passport bros, but
yeah, I think there's like an element of truth to what you're saying. I do think that's the position of some.
When
people.
I say element of truth, I mean that feels like 80% of people that talk about shopping around for, not like 10%. This feels like the vast majority to me.
Okay, so that's where we disagree. I think it's probably closer to like 20 or 30%. I think most guys, at least the friends that I have and the people I know, they don't care for women's educated. That's not like a negative thing for them. They just like the fact that women are more feminine, that they have better family values, they have better values in general. They're more reliable. They're less flaky. Those are the metrics that make them want to date in other countries. I mean, it's like not a coincidence that like every single or most people in my sphere who get to a certain point of success at some point leave America and move to a different country and just live there because the dating there is so much better. Of course, it is also cheaper there, but you know, you can't discount the dating aspect of it.
Is that true? That people are just leave the U.S. and go live in like fucking like Romania or whatever? I feel like
in the manosphere, like the pickup community.
Oh, in the manosphere, maybe. Sorry. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. In my subsect of the community.
Gotcha.
But like pretty much every, like I'm literally the only one that fucking stays in the U.S. They always ask me, why are you in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean that doesn't surprise me. If your goal is just like fuck a ton of women and do that, like you could probably do that in those countries probably a lot easier, I would imagine, in general.
But it doesn't have to be fuck a ton of women. It could be just have like I think for most guys that they get to a point where they're like they get bored of fucking a ton of women. They want to get into like a relationship or you know, semi-relationships or several relationships. So I don't think it's fair to say like all those guys are just trying to fuck as many women as possible, maybe initially. But from what I know, like quite often they wind up dating. Or they wind up, you know, doing something like what you do, which is like a variation of an open relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, not what I do. They would probably all want one-sided open relationship.
A one-way open relationship, right? But it's a little bit of a caricature to say that they're all just like fucking trying to like get their lake count up. Of course, there are people.
Well, I would say that anybody that's going to a foreign country like that to try to get into a one-way open relationship is absolutely fitting that caricature of what I said to a T, at 100%.
But if there's practical, tangible benefits to dating a woman, let's just say from Poland, than there are from the U.S., why would that be a bad thing or a character?
Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you can do it. I mean, if it's the character. But I mean, if you want to do it, then, I mean, go for it, I guess. If you want to.
I understand you're not trying
I feel like yeah, it's like these are like huge differences in opinion in terms of what people like. I understand that what I shop for in women is going to be a lot different than, especially like manosphere red pill people. But I feel like women are like today are like so much more interesting than just like baby and food machines. But it feels like in the red pill community, they just want baby food machines. And that's about all a woman should be providing. And that anything more than that is like masculine and gross. That's like generally that's what I get, the impression I get on Fresh and Fit. It's the impression I get when I listen to Andrew Tate. That's like ubiquitously like the message that like women are meant for making babies and making dinner, and anything more than that is kind of gross and masculinizes the woman and makes her combative.
Yeah, I agree that like kind of character exists in the red pill community, but that's like a fairly small part of the amount of people who travel to date in other countries. I mean, would you say that's the vibe you get from me? I just want a woman who's like a fucking baby machine and whatnot.
Not necessarily. I don't think so. Although we haven't talked specifically about like what you're looking for in like a wife or whatever. But
right, but you've seen me interact with my girlfriend. It's not like, yo, shut up over there and fucking go back to like fucking cooking your eggs for when I get you pregnant later tonight.
Not really. No, I haven't seen you interact much with your girlfriend. We go out publicly, but I don't know what your home life is like. I don't think I can, but I'm not going to sit here and like vouch for anything, right? Same thing. I wouldn't expect you to vouch for me and my relationship. Like you haven't seen us interact at home. It might be.
Oh, right. But I mean, I think I have enough information to make a informative opinion that you're probably not like trying to keep Melina from like pursuing her goals and hobbies and treating her like a fucking baby machine. Like I could be wrong, but I think I'm very confident making that statement just from watching how you guys interact. The way you interact with your girlfriend is fundamentally differently than the way like Myron interacts with his non-girlfriend, or if he ever did one, how he would interact with her. So I guess like going back to that point, yeah, I agree with that character that does exist. I just don't think it's nearly as pronounced or as popular as you think it is, where it's like 80%. I think for a lot of guys, it's just like they have a job that allows them to work internationally, right? They have the freedom. They have a virtual job, and they're like, I could live in this country where there's like a 70% flake rate, or I could live in this country where there's a 20% flake rate, and women are more feminine, and I have a better experience, and things are cheaper. Why would I not live there? Sure. I don't think it needs to be about like controlling women or like making this sinister thing where it's all about like. Yeah,
it's possible. I guess I've never in my life heard somebody say that like I'm moving to a country because of a different flake rate, but that might just be like different communities that we're a part of, I guess. But again, like there's a reason why this stereotype exists all over the world for a reason. I'm not like just making this up, right? Like people are, like the stereotype of a person that does this is like an old guy, usually in his 40s or 50s, has a decent amount of money, probably overweight and balding, and is like going to find a woman that can like barely speak English to like be his wife / baby machine.
Right, but I mean, there's stereotypes for everything. There's a stereotype of like, for example, your community of like the ultra sensitive blue-haired lefty, right? But if I like try to characterize you now, you're gonna be like, yo, well, that's not me though.
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't fit me, but I'm not gonna say that stereotype doesn't exist for a reason. There's a lot of sensitive. I literally use it all the time. I'm the one that was like fucking blue-haired fucking losers. Like I say that shit, of course, yeah.
No, but I'm agreeing with you. The stereotype exists. We're not disagreeing about that. We're just disagreeing about how predominant it is.
I would just like. Not to sound mean for people like me, but like if I saw somebody with blue hair, I would instantly make like 20 different assumptions about their political beliefs, and I'd probably be right like 80% of the time. Like the stereotypes exist for a reason. Same thing where like if somebody tells me he's going to like Eastern Europe or South America to look for a wife, I would also make a ton of assumptions about the type of person they are, the type of woman they're looking for, and I think I'd probably be right like 80% of the time, I think. But
I don't think you'd be right 80% of the time. I think you might be right like 20-30% of the time. Okay, let me pose the question like this. What kind of evidence would I need to show you for you to change your perspective on this issue?
What kind of evidence? Damn, I don't know. Like if the polling data that I'm asking for even exists. Like, is there polling data on like why do you like? Here's one question, I guess. Like here would be an interesting question. But I don't know if the data exists, so it's really hard. One would be like. How fluent is the average wife of a person that picks up somebody in like Central or Eastern Europe or South America? One would be like fluency of language. That'd be one part. A second part would be average age of guy getting a oh shit, Melina, you're right. Average age of a guy that's going over there, is it like 45 or 50? Melina just told me there's actually a name for this in Sweden for people that go over and try to find like the poor wives and shit. I don't remember what you said it was called. Her dad had a name for it apparently. But yeah, I guess like that, like data on that, like why do you search for a wife over there? Like what are the traits you're looking for? How do these relationships generally turn out? I guess like these would be like pointers that would point me in that direction. But that's like that's a pretty unfair ask. I'm asking for pretty particular polling data that I don't know if that like those studies have been done. But
yeah, I did like 15-20 minutes of research before this debate trying to see what polling data I could find, and there's not really good polling on this. Also, like people are generally not going to answer that question honestly. Like if you're going over there as a sex tourist, you're probably not going to be like, yeah, I'm a sex tourist. You're probably going to be like, sure. Oh, you know, right. So I think that that would be kind of a tough thing. What about is there a level of anecdotal like evidence I could show you? Meaning like I show you 10, 20, 50 guys who move to those countries and you hear their reasons for moving there. I think
anecdotal stuff would probably, it would slowly cause me to change my opinion. But even everything you said kind of reinforces my opinion of what I felt before. Like for instance, you say like these women are more feminine and giggly. That doesn't feel like a thing to me. Like that just feels kind of like we're just looking for kind of like dumb, bimbo-y, uneducated women. That's what it feels like to me. But, you know, I could be wrong.
But like, a woman can be feminine and be very intelligent. Like I would say, my girlfriend is very feminine, but also very intelligent, right?
Possibly, yeah. But in a lot of red pill communities, like intelligence is a masculine trait, so they like say no by definitions. Maybe you're unique in that you don't. But
I'm not a red pill part of the red pill community.
No, I know. But the people that talk about this type of behavior that you're talking about are primarily red pillars, right, or sex pats, right? Like.
Not really. I mean, they're just one of the groups of people talk about. There's a whole bunch of this community called...
No. Before like red pillars, this type of behavior was like exclusively viewed the way that I'm saying it. That like, but like only red pillars have come out and tried to say like, oh no, like it's normal to look for a more feminine woman, blah blah blah. Like prior to like red pillars, like most people would talk about this behavior, I think the same way I'm talking about it. I'm almost positive of that. I'd never heard it expressed in any different way.
There's a whole bunch of other communities. There's expat communities that you can find on Facebook, where most of those people don't even know what a red pillar is. You can find, typically most cities will have like a page on city data, and you can read about it on there. There's in the pickup community, this is something that's been discussed in the pickup community. I think is older than the red pill community, even the black pill community, which is not a community I would really endorse, but that's discussed. So yeah, this is discussed in a lot of communities. It's not just the red pill community. They're just only one of many communities that talk about travel. Like why would this be exclusive to the red pillars?
Well, no, I'm saying the redefining it as like just finding like a beautiful feminine woman that's actually intelligent and well educated and all that. That like, I think generally it's just going to be like you're looking for women that don't speak the language well, that you kind of have like a huge like power differential over because you probably have a lot of money, and like that's generally like what most of those types of people are shopping for. But,
yeah, I just feel like that's a negative character. I mean, like, sure, there's some guys that I'm sure fall into this category, but like just going off like again my anecdotal experience of guys I've met who travel, which is quite a few. I don't know any of them who are looking for like just like this like poor immigrant they can abuse. It's typically like
sure, but then I wonder if we might just define that differently. Like that Allende guy, was that his name yesterday?
Allende, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know how you consider him. I would consider him that type of person based on everything he said to me 100%. But you might not consider him that way, right?
What would you consider him exactly?
He's a guy shopping around for like an adolescent, immature, stupid woman who won't put up with his shit. Or who would put up with his shit. That's how I view like a character like that based on everything that he said yesterday.
Well, what is that based on?
Just like, all the answers that he gave to literally everything. Also, for the record, I'm pretty sure every other girl on that panel agreed with me that the answers that he gave, it sounded like he was looking for kind of like a dumb woman who doesn't know better because he would probably get called on his shit by anybody that actually did. So but he'll say that like, oh, I just want a feminine one that's not as combative and blah, 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 blah. But he's just looking for kind of like somebody that's younger, stupid, lacks the experience, and is desperate for a passport.
I guess. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I actually met his ex-girlfriend, but oddly enough, her name is Natalia too. But like, she's none of those things. She's like, I mean, she's Colombian American, like has a pretty strong personality.
Why is she his ex?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well.
And even if I did, I don't think it would be fair for me to get into that if it's like something available privately. But
I mean, like, what do you think? Like, for instance, when you look at 90 Day Fiance, do you think that those guys are just looking for like more feminine women?
I'm not familiar. What is 90 Day Fiance?
It's a whole show built on like that sex pat kind of like caricature. It's like, I think it's generally like older dudes looking for women that barely speak the language, or they end up barely speaking the language. They mail to them and they meet them for the first time. And it's you've never heard of the show 90 Day Fiance?
No, I don't watch TV.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But I'm not disagreeing with you that those people exist. I know they exist, right? There's like kind of like I saw this meme of like it was like this really old dude, like this grandpa with like two like younger Thai women who were probably like 20, 21, and they were at the ATM machine, and it was like this is the only way I can get laid nowadays, and something like that, right? So yes, that shit does exist, especially more so in certain countries like Thailand and whatnot, where like older men who just literally have nothing else to offer. If you need to go there in order to get laid, right? That does exist. But then there's also a complete separate group of dudes who are just like guys that you would say are more or less high value. They have businesses. They're young looking. They have riz. They have game. They just made the conscious choice to compete in a marketplace that's a lot more favorable towards them.
Huh. Okay.
But again, like I guess like so you said if I show you a series of anecdotal evidence, that would get you like solely nudge your opinion?
Maybe if I met more guys that did this that were like people that I felt like were looking for more than just like baby machines and food machines, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we got to unplug you from like the whole red pill community because that's tainting your.
But again, that Allende guy, he fits the T like, or he fits the bill to a T. Like that's exactly who I would expect to be. That like he fits the stereotype of what I imagine like those guys would be like. So I don't know if we might just see that like a little bit differently.
Oh no, you could be right. I just don't have the information to make that conclusion about Allende. I don't know.
Okay.
But you could be right. I don't know. I don't know him well enough to know like whether that's something that he looks for or not. I'm just like really careful making like statements of fact about people that I don't have the information on. Okay, let me redirect to this. We talked about the Tinder experiment. We talked about the you're very unlikely to start living and dating another country. What about do you plan on traveling to any third world countries anytime in the near future, just for like a weekend or something?
I don't think I have any plans to right now. No, that's a lot of domestic. I'm going to Wales. I don't know if that counts as third world.
No.
Yeah.
Yo, do you mind if I get a guy from my chat on? He has very, very strong positions on this.
Yeah, knocks it out.
All right, cool. Let me bring him on. All right, QB, jump on. This dude loves travel. See, like, I'm kind of in a tough spot because I'm like somewhere in between you guys, where like I think I can totally see the logic of like traveling to other countries. I've done it and I've seen the benefits of it, but at the same time, I do agree with some of the characters that you have of like the typical red pillar who just wants a woman who's just literally incapable of doing anything besides like fucking popping out babies. QB, no, like, we don't have 15 minutes. Just jump on now. You don't need time to set up. You don't need to look good for Destiny.
Is this a guy or girl?
It's a guy.
Oh, does he like need to do his hair?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Well, let's bring this guy on. Nomad Tate lifestyle. You're cool with me bringing like one or two people on?
Knock yourself out.
I don't want to make it seem like I'm ambushing you or something.
You're good. Ambush me, dude.
Yo, how you doing, guys?
What's up, dude? So you live in Europe, right?
I used to live in Europe, but currently I'm located in Paraguay.
Okay. So, yeah. Talk about your experiences and what you want to.
Yes, so I was noticing a few things that I'm a little bit critical about what Destiny was talking about. So there's one thing which I disagree with. It's about the education, okay? So what exactly is education? Is it a piece of paper?
Yes, a piece of paper from a 4-year degree, yeah.
Or is it actually also live experience?
Nope, it's the piece of paper.
Hold on for a minute, please.
Okay.
Look, sometimes the most interesting conversation I had with people were mostly people who actually had life experience, and they could teach me many things. And this also included even women, right? So, oh yeah, it's a very unmasculine thing if we are actually learning something from women. But no, actually, many of them who were supposedly not educated, they could tell me many interesting things. And I was very surprised about it. And I really disagree also with your position about Colombia, for instance, being a boring country. Like, what exactly makes Colombia or third world countries boring for you? Is it the mentality? Is it the people? Is it the culture? Or what exactly is it? Because
I think he meant the women there are boring, not the country itself.
Oh no, I meant that like I'm sure you can find exciting women in probably any country in the world. I meant finding a woman that's just like giggly and bubbly and like feminine or whatever. That sounds like really boring to me. Like if there was a woman and she was asked to like describe herself, and if like one of the first like 5 words she used would be like feminine, I wouldn't get along with this person.
Damn.
Okay, so you mean
we're just totally different in that sense, I guess.
Probably
the characteristics that like feminine or giggly, they are boring for you, not overall the culture.
Generally speaking, I mean, like there are women that I like that are like bubbly and giggly, but if that's like a big driving part of their personality, it's probably a person that I wouldn't like very much.
Okay, so maybe I misunderstood you on that point. So fair enough. And as for the passport brothers or this movement that is currently very much discussed about, I would say there's also like there are different positions I have concerning these people. So there are some people who want to bring back certain women from poorer countries because they really cannot get laid, and I agree, many of them, they just lack game, hence why they are really creepy, because they don't know how to carry themselves. They are not sociable. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know actually what to do in their life, because many of them just don't have any life, basically, right? But then there are also other people who can travel, who are not creepy or who don't fit into these stereotypes because they actually made something out of themselves. They achieved something in life. They have, for instance, a location independent business, so they can work. I'm not talking about the digital nomads, right? I'm talking about people who own a business, and they can work from Paraguay as they can work from maybe Central Asia or the US or Europe or wherever. Well, also exception totalitarian governments, right? So I don't think they can go to North Korea, right? But these people, they actually achieved something and they want to stay in certain countries, and not just because of the cost of living or because of other things, but because they prefer the mentality of certain countries.
Okay.
So me, for instance, I prefer the mentality here in Paraguay. People, they just fit with me, right? Like when I'm talking to them and they talk to me, even without having the very profound vocabulary in Spanish, they get me as I get them. Whereas back in my place, I never felt like I was truly at home.
Yeah, can I just add one more thing to this? Because this is, I forgot to bring this up. So another thing, obviously, is beauty, right? Physical attractiveness. I'm sure you've seen the statistics on this. 71.6% of adults aged 20 and over are overweight, including obesity. In America, so that basically means 3 or almost 3 out of 4 girls is going to be overweight, which is going to be generally less desirable versus like you go to like Eastern Europe and like Colombia, that's pretty rare there, especially when you're talking like their 20s or early 30s. So that's definitely like another factor why I think guys might be motivated to.
I don't know if that's a fact. There's plenty of non-overweight people in the United States.
Right, but if you the 3 out of 4 people are overweight, like that's not looking good.
Sure, but I mean 3 out of 4 men are overweight too, right? It's not just women, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I'm saying like if you're looking for like an average weight partner in the United States, you can probably find them, I would imagine. Like,
yeah,
like if somebody was like, I had to go to Colombia because there were too many fat people in the United States, I'd be like,
Right, but you're going to have when the ratio is much more like, okay, like if you, let me try to word it like this, right? You go to a club, one club is like, there's 4 dudes for every girl, right? Like, sure, you can find a girl there. It's just going to be a lot harder. The other club is two girls for every guy. It's going to be a lot easier. Just same thing here. Sure, you can find a girl who's not fat, right? That's doable. But when 3 out of 4 girls are overweight, like the odds are against you versus if you go to a country where it's like 5%, 10%, the odds are much more in your favor.
Yeah, I guess. For me personally, I guess I've never thought about it that way, but I mean, technically, I guess mathematically that's true.
I mean, like, you would say, like, you're attracted to, like, you know, like, girls who are not overweight, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I would
like,
just find girls that are not overweight, though. I wouldn't think, like, statistically speaking, like, what's the area that I need to be in for the least amount of, like, overweight girl? I would just, like, not hit on
I'm not saying it's the primary reason. I'm just saying that could be
sure. No, I know. I'm just kind of, yeah. Because there's lots of non-overweight people in the United States. I would never think, like, God, I'm running out of normal weight people to hit on, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. Sure.
I would also say that genetics play a huge role. Like when we are comparing, for instance, people from a white ethnicity and also people from Southeast Asia, it's more difficult for them to get obese than for white people, for instance. That's just genetics.
I don't think that's true, but.
Well, actually, I think I have once read something about, was it the metabolism or something else? It was like some type of study. I'm not sure where exactly, but there were claims concerning the differences of genetics, and that these were the main reasons why also people, also for other reasons like education and discipline and what they eat and so on.
I kind of agree with Destiny. I think it's mainly the diet and lifestyle. I don't think it's like we're genetically more predisposed to being fat. Maybe to a small extent, but I don't think that's like the major factor. But also, okay, here's another metric that there's studies on happiness. On average, women are happiest in your favorite place, Scandinavia, right? So that's another, like, if you would think that a woman who's happy is going to be a better partner, you know, she's going to be more engaged and whatever.
Yeah, she's not going to be happy when she starts dating me, though, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that could be the case, my man. But again, I think like just like if we look at all these metrics, it doesn't seem like America does that good. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. But I mean, like, you're talking national averages. If you're wealthy enough to go to another country, you're probably wealthy enough to have like access to way different dating markets in the United States too. But or maybe you don't. If people want to do it, listen. If people want to do it, knock themselves out. But like, until I meet a whole bunch of people that are passport bros, like it's like, here's his instance. Okay, let's say some guy comes up to me and is like, listen, I like to go to Colombia to talk to girls. I'm like, really? Why is that? And it's like, Colombian girls all of them know how to dance a ton at clubs. I love the culture that they have around like hiking and like physical activities outdoors. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. I like a lot of like the history and the culture, and they're like all that shit. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's fine. But when somebody's like, I need somebody that's feminine, submissive, docile, and American women are too masculine and they bully me too much, I'm like, okay. Like, that's just like, if I heard that former answer way more, then I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But I almost exclusively hear like the latter answer, that like American women are masculinized and they're SJWs and they're all, and it's like all this like weird like political stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. That's generally how I hear it.
Okay, and what about people, for instance?
I think you're strong. Wait, let me just respond to this. I think you're strawmanning the other side, because I don't think most guys are saying, yeah, they bully me too much, I can't handle an American women. I think it more comes down.
Well, you guys literally said combative. That was a word that you used before, right?
Right, but that's not. It's not that we can't handle it. It's just that it's not attractive.
Well, and what, okay, I mean, we can about people who just happen to prefer a certain type of looks that you cannot find in the US, or that you cannot find.
Well, you can find it. It's just rarer.
Well, maybe in a bigger city, but let's say if you live in the middle of nowhere, practically, right?
Yeah, but who's living in rural Arkansas, flying to fucking like Lithuania to find a girlfriend, right?
Maybe there are people like that, you don't know. Maybe they prefer the Lithuanian look, or maybe they prefer the Colombian look.
Well, typically it comes down to what your job is, but if you have a virtual job, like you are gonna, sure, that probably this is gonna be a little bit of expensive, but you're gonna make that money through cheaper cost of living. Like, it's way cheaper to live in those countries than it is in America. Like, that within a few months, you'll be like, you'll have recouped the cost of your travel and more. So like financially, if you have a job that you can do virtually, it makes more sense, unless you're like a podcaster or something where you need the connections of being in the US. But aside from that, like, it makes more sense to like live in a third world country where the cost of living is like half or a third and whatnot. And if like,
yeah, I understand this is possible. I just think this is exceptionally rare. What you're describing, I think, is like a pretty rare thing.
Okay, we just fundamentally
for instance, for the percentage of people that can work remotely, I would guesstimate that less than 1% are moving and living in other countries. That's like a really rare thing, I think.
Yeah, they're not doing it. Maybe they want to stay closer to their family. Maybe they, I don't know, they really like the comfort of their city that they grew up in. Sure, they're not doing it.
But also people in the US, especially, they have a lot of family roots from other countries. So I would even suggest that it's not far-fetched to claim that many people who still are in touch with their roots from their own family, that they like actually to go to their home country where they're actually from, or where their family is coming from. Like, let's for instance take Alex as an example. I'm pretty sure there are other people who have his origin in the US, living there, who wouldn't mind to go back to live for some time in, I think, was it Belarus or?
Yeah, I'm from Belarus. Yeah, for me, for example, the reason that like I don't move to Colombia or like Eastern Europe, well, not Eastern Europe now, but I guess South America, right? Like, I would love to move there, but again, I'm really close with my family, and that would be like pretty, tough for my parents to come visit me. So that's one of the reasons. And two is I have some health issues which require me to be with the American healthcare system. But like, if it wasn't for those two things, I would definitely move to like Colombia or Brazil or like one of those countries. I want to bring on QB. Nomad, did you have any closing thoughts before I bring him on?
No, I'm pretty fine. Thank you for bringing me on.
All right, thanks for coming on. Let's bring on this dude. He's all about the travel lifestyle. So let's see.
What's good, Alex? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay. I caught some of the stream. I will say for this, the travel lifestyle is not for everybody, but it's a good option for men to explore options with women based on what they desire. So you have some guys that they do want a traditional, female, but the laws here in the United States, unfortunately, long term puts them in jeopardy of their assets.
Yeah,
And
so
then
this
you
is
have-
like another one just before you go too far, and you can finish it. But like this, he's already said enough for me to put him in like that group of people, like the marriage laws, the divorce laws. Like he's already in that group for me now, right?
Hold on. Let me say the other.
Yeah, go for it.
And then you have guys that like casual dating, okay? Where, as we kind of mentioned earlier, the cost of going out and doing things in certain events is a lot less compared to the States. And then I would say the third group of guys are men that basically they've been in relationships, they've been divorced, and they just want to have fun with the girl and they'll do the pay-for-play route. Those are kind of the three travel type or the travel bros, I would say, in the community. Well, go ahead.
Well, I don't think I have anything to say.
Oh, okay. And in regards to the marriage stuff, like, I'm going to be honest, it is extremely difficult for a man in the United States to sign a marriage contract and not have any power in the relationship or in the marriage long term, to where his assets are not like a liability or a detriment for him. If you go marry a girl in a foreign country, which I would still preach don't involve the state, you're not in that position. And you can have.
Wait, do other countries
wives.
not have like multiple? Never mind. Sorry, keep going.
I'm saying you can also have the option if you wanted multiple wives as well.
Okay.
QB, you're kind of reinforcing all his stereotypes.
No, it's all good. It is.
Well, I mean,
40 minutes trying to talk him out of.
Okay, but according to him, from what I've listened earlier in the stream, that guys that are going to other countries, they have no options. They're basically losers back at home, and they can't find what they want, which is not true. I've personally been in a situation where I could have settled down with a young professional girl, but I said to myself, I have it better in another place, okay? Where long term I can build myself up financially and not be in so much of a risk compared to living here in the United States.
I mean, look, like those dudes do exist. They're not like something Destiny made up. I just think the disagreement is how predominant that is. Like he says it's 80%. I would say that's closer probably like to 20, 25%, right? Pretty much the vast majority of every dude I know who travels, it's not because they can't get laid in the U.S. or they struggle with girls in the U.S. They do just fine with girls in the U.S., but they're like, yo, like there's this other place where it's a lot better.
Well, this guy says he likes girls in Paraguay or whatever. Why do you think they get you more? What part of you do they get better that people in the U.S. didn't get?
Say that again, what?
This guy says he likes girls in Paraguay or whatever. What do they get more about you that women in the U.S. didn't get about you?
I can't speak on that guy.
Well, I'm asking him. I'm asking him.
Oh.
Because that's what he said.
Okay, you said something about Paraguay. You went in and out there.
Wait, am I making that up? Oh, that was a previous dude. I'm sorry. Fuck, never mind. That was the other guy. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different person.
Yeah. But for example, I will say this. Just because you travel doesn't necessarily mean you'll get better results. So, like, for example, you got some travel bros, mainly black travel bros. Jesus. They love going to Asia. They can't really go to South America because if they go to South America, they're going to get the same results. A lot of rejections.
That's not true. They can get laid in South America too.
Well, they can, but I'm saying in Asia, all right, you don't like. I'm going to be honest. I can only speak on the places that I've been to in South America, but it seems like height is not so much of a requirement compared to the Philippines in regards to like Colombia or something. Okay, they're able to have more an abundance and selection of women compared to them being limited to like a Colombia or Mexico.
I will say this, like, I hope you don't take this like as an insult or anything, Destiny, because it's not meant to be.
Go ahead. Let's go.
I do feel like you, and which is like props to you. You've been able to become very successful, but you are kind of very disconnected from the dating scene for the average guy. Again, you are, famous. You are fairly charismatic. you have a hot Swedish wife that you can use as a tool to help meet girls. Like you are very different than the average guy. And I just like wonder if you're like
with the blue hair,
your response. Oh, the blue hair doesn't actually really matter. I wonder if your response would be like totally different if you didn't have the fame or the natural riz or whatever the fuck you want to call it, especially the fame.
I got a quick question after him, Alex.
No, I guess like it's
clear, like I did fine in high school. I went to an all-boys high school, and I still had a girlfriend for 3 of the 4 years. I got married when I was 19. I had a kid. I bought my first house when I was 19, 20. Like, I mean, I feel like I did okay. I don't know if at any point in my life I was like, God, I wish I could just go to South America to find a different woman.
Yeah, I remember we discussed this. I think the first time we talked, I was like, I asked you, like, do you feel like you're more of a natural? And you're like, yeah, like you kind of have natural riz, wouldn't you say?
Sure, I guess, but that's a lot different than just saying just because you're famous. But I mean, but okay, go ahead.
Well, it's one of the factors. It's one of the factors.
But now my fame definitely helps me. I'm not going to deny that, obviously, of course. Yeah, I'd be a dumb fuck not to deny that. Yeah.
I just wonder if you're hang on, Kibbe. I just wonder like if your position on this would be like totally different if you were like one of the, I don't know, like 40% virgins who's like watching the stream on your end. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if like...
Sure, and I understand what you're saying there. I agree that might be the case, and I can only go by what people tell me. But I have never in my life talked to another real-life person that's like, oh yeah, like the red pill stuff, like, yeah, that definitely lines up pretty much completely with how I view the world or what my like experience has been like or anything like that. Only people that are directly in this world have ever told me that. Every girl has disagreed vehemently. Most men have like disagreed with how these markets work. Like, the only place that this seems to be true is in these communities where people are like incentivized to sell it. But also it could just be the types of people I talk to in communities as well. Like, I fully admit that it could be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the red pill, like, I mean, I've said this before, I think there's a lot of garbage in the red pill community. But when you go off like what I teach, which is like in a lot of ways different than the red pill, it's really rare that when I explain to a girl in detail and clear up her misunderstandings that she disagrees with me. Quite often girls are like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can't recall a time where I was able to like clarify my position and like really simply explain to a girl, and she was like vehemently disagreeing with me. That very rarely happens.
Sure, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Question for Destiny, really quick. So you met your wife when you were 19. If you don't mind me asking, like, how long ago was that? Or how long?
I met my wife when I was 16 or 17. It would have been in high school, which would have been what, 2004.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about 15 years ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now...
Wait, you met your wife when you were 15? Oh, you're talking about your first wife. I think he's asking about your second wife, Melina.
No, Melina, I met, I don't know, like 4 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what he's saying.
But that's I only met her because I'm famous. She reached out to me because she saw my fucking YouTube. Like, that's...
Okay, so basically, your first marriage was a divorce, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, being a guy that knows, again, the laws here and society and other places, it's in a man's best interest to totally avoid the system and not experience what you had, unfortunately, with your first wife.
Why? That system is what enabled me to get financial aid for school. That's why I got married.
Well, again, not when a guy is willing to settle down with a woman, especially in a marriage, he's not looking for the D to happen, the divorce. So what gives you more leverage is going to a place to where you're not in compliance with these laws here in the United States, unfortunately.
Okay. Why not just sound like a prenuptial agreement if this is like such a huge concern to you?
Well, prenups unfortunately get thrown out depending on which state you live in.
What percentage of marriages even need a prenup, and what percentage of marriages prenups are getting thrown out? Like, you're talking about such an obscenely rare thing, but you're like willing to tell a whole bunch of people.
A lot of prenups get thrown out.
A lot.
Look at the NBA players.
Are you coaching NBA players for dating advice? Why are we talking about NBA players?
No, and I'm not a dating coach, by the way. I'm anti.
Well, sure, but what, you shouldn't be living your life by what NBA players do? Like, that has nothing to do with this conversation.
Well, hold on. If their prenups are getting thrown out, what makes it think that my prenup is going to last?
Because their prenups probably have millions and millions or tens of millions of dollars of assets that are being like held at risk here. So of course the complicated battles over this is going to be like way more. But for a normal human being, like only 10% of divorces even have alimony involved. The idea that this is like a super common thing, like, oh yeah, your wife's gonna.
I will want to see the stats on that. I think the alimony is a lot more than 10%. There's no way.
I personally don't really like the marriage argument. I think that's a weaker argument. I prefer the preference argument over, because you can just not get married in the U.S. You can just like get into a relationship and just.
Well, careful. No,
very true.
that is not true. Be very careful, because in the United States, you can be common law married if you live long enough with somebody. So be careful.
Yeah, I've explored that. That's only in like that's in like
Texas,
10 out of 50 states.
Mm-hmm. Just be careful.
Living with for like at least 5 years. It's not as common as people think.
Yeah.
It only applies in like 20% of the states.
Just be careful you don't get it.
But if you're a guy that makes over $100K a year, okay, and you've been dating your girl for, I don't know, maybe 3 or plus years, and let's just say she's over 30, and she wants to, get married and have kids, you're not going to have that type of leverage to do the whole common law marriage thing compared to going overseas.
What do you mean by leverage, or what do you mean when you say that?
Okay, well, a girl is going to say, look, if you don't marry me, somebody else will. That's what I mean by that. So
Okay.
if she's an attractive girl,
She has options?
She has options, and some guy is saying, look, I will put the ring on it. But you're saying, I won't put the ring on it, she's going to bail.
Okay.
Overseas, you don't have to worry about that, because they know that they're replaceable. It's like, look, if you don't get with my program and do the things that I want you to do and live the lifestyle that I want to live, I can replace you. In the United States, most men do not have that leverage.
I feel like I was really close to, like, not really close, but I was making some headway. I'm like getting Destiny to drop the stereotype, and I feel like we've just traveled backwards.
Well,
We're good on that, Alex. But again, your leverage is a lot better in another country.
true, I agree for sure, 100%.
Do you have anything else you want to bring up or ask Destiny?
I think that's mainly it. Again, we witnessed, unfortunately, you told the story about the divorce situation, and now you've remarried again. I think
Why are
one
you
more
saying
final
unfortunately?
question.
It's okay. Like, marriages end. Like, it happens. But I mean, it's all right.
No, I disagree. What made you wanted to remarry again versus be a bachelor? I think that's my final question.
Because I love my life. My wife. I want to live with her, and she's Swedish. So the only way we can live together is by getting married, right? Because she needs a green card.
Oh, so did you met her in the States, or you met her in...
Technically, I met her in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. And you didn't want to... You didn't want to live there in New Zealand or...
Fuck no. I live in the greatest country in the world. Why the fuck would I want to go to fucking New Zealand? What?
Okay. I mean, I have a different stance on it because, again, the marriage law is here. But I hope it works out for you. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right, thanks, QB.
Okay, no doubt.
All right. Yeah, I guess I think the only real thing. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think the only real way to get to the bottom of this, or at the very least make some segue, is to do two things. One is the Tinder experiment. So I'll help you with that. I think that could be a lot of fun. And then you could just report on the results. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. I think also the cold approach experiment will also kind of give us a little bit of a basis of just what kind of reactions do guys.
Yeah, a little bit, but I want to be clear and careful too. Like, the cold approach thing is going to be fun for me, but if I was a normal guy, I wouldn't be going for dating markets in Miami. That's not who I am, right? I don't even know if I have any appeal to the types of women that are going to be on South Beach or whatever. It'll be fun to do. I'm not going to deny that. It's going to be fun. But I wouldn't take this as oh yeah, if I can't do this, it's going to be fucked for everybody. I wouldn't go for these girls. I'd be probably hitting up girls that go to schools and shit. Grade school. No, but girls that are working master's programs, or college educated chicks, or chicks that are nerdy or working in tech or some shit. These are going to be more my crowd, online people in fucking Discord and shit. Not girls that go clubbing at $5,000 a bottle fucking clubs on South Beach, right?
Oh, we're not going to go to the $5,000.
No, but I'm just saying there's a general type of girl that exists in Miami Beach or East Miami, Brickell or whatever.
Okay, but let's say your job is in Miami, you work in tech company that's based in Miami. What would you do then?
I would probably, I imagine I'd probably go out to Miami more. Like to actual Miami, not just Brickell and South Beach, right? Because the girls that I see, like, dude, I go down to eat like at Fleming's, at Big Pink, at all these restaurants down here. Like I've spent a lot of time in South Beach. I'm pretty sure I would strike out with 95% of the girls that exist down here. Like, this is not my scene at all. Like, 95% of the women here are like 30% fucking BBLs and lip fillers. Like, they're probably looking for Chad dudes that are either dad's money, old money, or like 6'2" and like fucking shredded dudes. Like, it's a totally different market than what I would like conventionally be going after for women. Like, I wouldn't be interested in them, and I don't think it'd be interested in me.
Yeah, the way you need to pick those girls up is like as you're talking to them, like 5-10 seconds in, you have someone like a friend of yours go up to and be like, "Oh my god, are you Destiny? Holy shit, I love your YouTube channel." And you were on like No Jumper, bam, got in the back. Okay, so not South Beach, I get that, but where are you gonna like where, Kendall, or where are you?
No, we can try it at South Beach. I think it'd be fun to do, but I'm not gonna like draw like broader conclusions. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying in general, like where
for
would you
Kendall?
recommend?
I mean, I want to hit on girls that at least have other teeth, right? I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
But like, where would you go though? Like, what part of town?
I don't know. I haven't looked around here at all. Probably like areas near like university, I was imagining. Like college chicks and stuff would probably be the types of girls that I'd be more interested in. That would be more interesting.
Probably.
Maybe, I don't know, where was like University of Florida? I have no idea. Like probably like those college towny type areas would probably be the areas that if I was like looking for girls, I'd probably be around there, like trying to pick people up. That'd be my guess.
I mean, the closest thing we have to a college area is in Miami is Coral Gables, like the Coral area. That's where University of Miami is. But unless you want to like drive north, that's basically it when you're talking about college girls.
Okay.
You're kind of like a little bit limited in Miami to some extent. I mean, I would say like my advice would be to diversify. Like get on dating apps, meet girls in real life as you go about, go to bars occasionally, try to leverage your social circle. I would say just like diversify as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree.
That would be my dating advice. Okay. Is there anything else you want to discuss?
No, I don't think so, unless.
Have you been getting? I saw you've been getting some pushback for your debate with that Spencer dude.
Have I? I haven't seen it. I don't care. I talk to anybody. If anybody pushes back, fuck them.
Didn't you react to like the no jumper thing? I thought I saw
to the no jumper thing. What do you mean?
What was your take on that debate? Did you think because he seemed like okay? I'm trying to think of how I can word this without saying it the wrong way. He seemed more chill than I would have expected.
Yeah, it seems like it. He's either matured and grown, or he's faking it all, and he'll come out as a secret Nazi. Who knows?
What's your take on that? Which one do you think it is?
I just meet everybody where they're at. I'll assume he's changed, but maybe he hasn't. I don't know.
Is there anyone you would not debate at this point?
If it's a conspiracy thing, I'd have to like do a lot of research beforehand. So there are certain people that are like one-trick conspiracy ponies, especially around like the race realist or Holocaust provision that I generally avoid. But if I do enough research and I feel like it, maybe.
Okay, but you're pretty much down to debate anyone. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I debated President Sunday yesterday.
Holy shit! How did that go?
Exactly how you think it would have went. He just basically stonewalled me the entire time. I got him on a bunch of statements he made that were factually inaccurate, and then he would be like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that." Basically, didn't want to talk about anybody. Constantly kept changing his position, and then when all else fails, he just regressed to personal insults.
Wait, what did you actually debate about?
A few things. He made the comment that I am Andrew Tate 2.0 or Andrew Tate Light, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So that I have like a lot in common with Andrew Tate, which is not really true. The other one is that he made the claim multiple times that I'm miserable. I must be a miserable human being. So I was trying to get him to expand on why he thinks I'm miserable. Then he kept saying I'm bored of these issues when he kept losing. So after that, we wound up debating on trans issues, and then he said, I need to do more research on this. I can't debate about this right now. So literally, we just couldn't debate anything with him.
Damn. Well,
yeah.